believe you actually built this model.
I built this, yes. This is one of my little hobbies of doing miniature models of different things. And, so I originally built a model from the architect's drawings and some photos, and now that we've completed the buildings, I've rebuilt the whole structure to the more modern finished product.
So as the final project, the final big shed that we're standing in,
yes,
is it now still, is it exactly as you've got here?
Right to scale, yes. We've done everything that I could think of is done to scale there, even the flagpole and the drainage area and all that. I've done that virtually to scale to what the architect's drawings were. But there's a few mistakes there, but
I'm just butting in here because Ron has done an absolute marvellous job. When we first went to get the shed design and get people on board and see what it was all about, it was fairly difficult because we just had plans. Ron did this 3D model there and to scale, it was just absolutely fabulous and served us for a good number of years. But because there were a number of changes that have been made over the period of time, and Ron's just gone back and spent quite a lot of time. And if you have a look at the detail in this model, it's just absolutely marvellous, right down to our van and some of the planting and the biobase and a few things. So Ron's done a fabulous job, so we're very pleased.
I'm not filming for One Nation. Excuse me, mate. Can I have a sanger and a banger with some dead horse?
Yeah, as long as you don't want to overcook.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Oh yeah, thank you, and all those in between. The welcome to what is a fabulously auspicious occasion, the opening of the Buderim Men's Shed. What a crowd. Well done. My name is Craig Allingham. I'm a member of the Buderim Men's Shed. I look after their health and wellbeing program with a group of other men who help me out. And I've been a member since day one, and it's a really proud moment to be still here, alive and kicking, and able to celebrate this opening today. I would like to acknowledge that this gathering is being held on Aboriginal land and recognise the strength and the resilience and the capacity of Aboriginal people in this land. I would also like to acknowledge our VIP visitors. We have with us today Ted O'Brien, MP, Federal Member for Fairfax, the Honourable Scott Buchholz, MP, Assistant Minister for Roads and Transport, Member for Wright. Thank you. And putting those two to shame, Barry Cheels, the President of the Buderim Men's Shed. We will hear from those three gentlemen in a little while. Firstly, some housekeeping. If there is an emergency and we need to evacuate, pay attention. Firstly, if your emergency is of a personal kind, we have toilets in all three buildings. We have a dedicated ladies' toilet in the admin block behind me in this building, and we have a dedicated men's toilet beside the kitchen area there. And in each of the other two sheds, yes, another two sheds, there is also a toilet block in those. And if you get caught short, you can claim it as yours. For any other emergencies, we will need to evacuate, and the assembly area is in the car park down by the flagpole. Okay, we hope it doesn't come to that. The plan for today's ceremony is to have a short opening ceremony with official speeches, and then an unbelievably symbolic opening of the men's shed by the official guests. Site tours will be continuing after the event, so if you haven't already had a look through the three shed complex, we will have some tour guides available for you to walk you through and tell you what each area is for. And there is a barbecue lunch provider, although I see there's a couple of people down the back who couldn't wait. They've made it a barbecue morning tea. All right. Fair enough, fair enough. I will get on with the speakers. If I could introduce first of all Barry Cheels, President of the Buderim Men's Shed. Thanks, Craig.
ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Scott and Ted, also distinguished guests and friends and shedders. We're all here, and what a diverse, wonderful crowd we have. I just looking around and trying to understand the diversity of this group. We have our politicians, so very important. We've got a good array of wonderful commercial sponsors that have been invited and will have come along to see this opening, because they've been a huge part of this. We've got our other sheds. We've got a number of other sheds from Brisbane. Thanks for coming up, those that have done that, and from the Queensland Men's Shed Association, and also from a couple of sheds on the Sunshine Coast in attendance. So they're all a bit keen to see what's going on at this Buderim Men's Shed. They're always flapping their gums about all sorts of things, but we've put it onto the ground at this stage of the game. And we've got our important shedders. What will we be doing without our shedders? But more importantly, what about the women of the shedders? Ladies, thank you very much for sending the guys down. So you'll have found on your seat a program that shows the journey of the building of the actual shed. Probably a little bit of information before that started. The shed was formed in 2010 by Buderim Rotary, and out of the Buderim Rotary, we had our first president, Rick Beasley, sitting at the front here, now currently Vice President. Rick. There were 20 members at that stage of the game, and very quickly that started to grow a bit, and they were working out of the back of the Anglican church up the top, and it was a little bit hard to work the lathes and do all the things that men like to do, so they looked around for somewhere to have as a home. They came up with the premises at 53 Mill Road, and Dr. Bill Glass and Claire Jackson owned that. It was a bit of a derelict shed. They were more than happy for a bunch of old blokes to come down and use it, as long as they kept it tidy, mowed the grass, and they didn't have to worry about that. Well, we walked into that shed and thought, holy mackerel, this is huge. How the hell are we going to fill that? 10 minutes later, we had every square inch of it covered. So a wonderful sponsorship there from the Glassons in getting us out of the ground and started. We always knew that was going to be a temporary premises, so the committee and the membership in general charged the management committee with looking for an area to build a shed and to have a bit more of a permanent home. Fortunately, the state government came to the party. This rock quarry here was very designated special land that wasn't to be used for any other purposes, but when we suggested to them they're not going to be blowing up rocks anymore, Suburbia's overhauled it, they said, oh, well, maybe we could give you a bit. So we grabbed a hectare and we started from there. We then entered into the journey that you could see and you can read about over the last couple of years. So that's brought us all the way through to the current time. Of course, when we decided that we were going to build a building here and it was probably going to cost us $1 million, we were very hard pushed as a bunch of old blokes that had probably been through sporting clubs and businesses and done a lot of fundraising and thought, oh hell, we're going to get caught up in this again. But it just slowly came together and we made a commitment that we needed a shed, we were going to have to build it, it was going to cost us money, and we embarked on that process. We put in for a federal government grant. It was an area that hadn't been tested by men's sheds previously because it was a grant that was used more often by local councils to get public sporting grounds and all sorts of stuff. So we thought we could tick all the boxes in this grant, and we were asking for $500,000 on a dollar for basis. That'd be $1 million all up. And we put our application in. We went down and saw our local federal member, Ted O'Brien, and he got behind this, and next minute we're up with a cheque, and we were more than pleased at that time, and I'll refer to that a little bit later. So that got us underway. Unfortunately, as things started to come together, that $1 million was only going to buy us 2 sheds out of the 3, and it meant that we were going to have to forego this administration building, which was going to be a fairly important piece of the whole network to tie it all together. We managed to find another opportunity with the federal government in a fairly short time. The federal government came up with another $500,000. Thank you. So our little our fundraiser, sausage sizzles and open days and garage sales and many other things that we did to pull this $500,000 that we were committed for, including a bank loan from Bendigo. We've now got ourselves across the line. I suppose regrettably, and I shouldn't be crying poor at this stage, we've got a wonderful building, but a couple of surprises during the course of the building caught us out for a couple of $100,000, so that sort of took the cream off the top to finish it off completely with a whole lot of infrastructure that we wanted. But again, that's left us with a legacy now of a very small amount, well I shouldn't say a very small amount, an amount yet to pay, and we've got some challenges to finish off the infrastructure, but we certainly still have a shed and we'll be moving down here probably in the next 4 or 5 weeks, and that's the way it'll go. So what a journey, and get a look at this facility here. We're just absolutely over the moon. I'd just like to pay a few thanks to people, and it's always dangerous territory because the more you thank, the more you've forgotten, but I'm going to do my best to weave a tight little web. First off, I have to pay a great lot of thanks to the state government because they have given us the land. We're on a 90-year lease. Can't get better than that. I don't think we'll be there to see it, will we? No. They've also, through the Gaming Machine Benefit Fund, we've probably maxed out our opportunities there. And over 3 or 4 years they've been absolutely marvellous, so thank you to the state government. Federal government, as I mentioned, kicked in $1 million. The current government have kicked in $1 million to this shed, and without that we certainly wouldn't be here. We may not have been finished with them yet with some funding, so we'll be kicking again, but that's all going to depend on the next couple of weeks, so we're going to have to see how that comes out. The shed, when we decided we need the fundraising committee and we're going to make a commitment, we're going to get this money, 2 people stood up out of the shed, Norm Thursby and Ross Winks. These 2 guys were positive right from the day dot. Blokes were saying in the shed that, oh, it's never going to happen, we're not going to put any money into this, what'll happen if we put our money in and the shed doesn't come to fruition, we're going to get our money back and all this sort of never talk. And, I mean, that's understandable. But both Norm and Ross were true to their word, kept on the positive thing, managed committee got behind them, and we just kept on plugging. They got together with Peter Fowler, a commercial man in this area, and he weaved an incredible, whatever you weave, through the politics of local government and getting approvals and getting help and getting dispensations and doing all that work. That's made a hell of a difference. So that team of 3 were the main blokes that pulled this through. Norm, in fact, ended up by default being the man to negotiate with the federal government in the times of acquitting and meeting different milestones with the federal government. I'm very pleased to say, and I can guarantee to you, that the federal government don't mess about with federal government money. They make you damn accountable. And we're pleased about that, but by gum, Norm has now a few more grey hairs in many different places, so but he survived it. So Norm, thank you very much. Ross has been our mechanics man and looked at the actual detail, all the setting out of the sheds. He's hovered over this landscaping here. Do you know that we have, in the last 5 weeks, planted 3,000 trees? Up the bank here, down the side, round the back. And Ross has hovered over this all the way through it. I call him, I can declare him now the fittest man in the shed. I thought I was, but he's the fittest man in the shed. He's been the first man here in the morning, the last man to go home, and when we're all sitting down having a cup of tea or panting, he's scrambling up around the bank there, putting more trees in and pulling out weeds and carrying on. So Ross, fantastic job, thank you. Look, I alluded to the fact that we've had a lot of help from a lot of different people. I mean, I'm just going to name a few to give some examples. Tritech down the road said, "Do you want any concrete? See us." And they just come up and deliver it for nothing. Shadforth, top of the tree, they said, "We're going to do for a very good price," and they've over $100,000 they've given us in kind to scrape all the dirt off it here and prepare the land. Shadforths have been absolutely amazing. Thank you. Evansbuild, who did the building, they've sharpened the pencil, they've pushed their contractors to do a good job for us, keep the price very, very sharp, and we're ever appreciative of Evansbuild for that. I'll name a few others. Christian Dixon has, with his discretionary fund, been absolutely amazing. He also facilitated, 20 or 40 trucks from the council full of mulch for nothing that we've managed to distribute around the place. So thanks to Christian, just a wonderful support for the men's shed. I mentioned Mansell's down the bottom of the hill here. They've provided us with bucket loads of landscape supplies, and very willing, and a lot of the dirt and crusher dust and all sorts of stuff has been from them, and they've just contributed that, and that's just been a fantastic thing. We've got Highgrove Bathrooms gave us a whole bunch of stuff for the bathrooms. We had JBG with the printing, and many others have supported us. I'm not going to name them all. They'll certainly be named on a board we'll have a little bit later on, and we'll remember them. So there we go. Just remembering again that when we first kicked off in this whole program, there were a number of, we went to the shedders that we thought, well, we can't go out to the public looking for funds unless we can show that we've kicked in. We started, I'm going to call it a $1,000 club, and the idea was that we asked members if they could contribute $1,000 or more, or whether they were happy to put in $5 a week or $10 a week. We have had a huge response to that, and those guys will go on the $1,000 club board that will form part of the shed. So we kicked off with our own guys putting their hands in their pocket, then we went out to the community. So job well done, guys, thank you. Okay, so the future is all about this facility and how we're going to use it. We have built it on the basis of the fact that it's going to be a men's shed first and foremost. We're dead keen, and we kept in mind the fact that it is a huge, fantastic community facility, particularly this hall in here, and we're dead keen that we come back to the community and offer that up. It won't be immediately. We want to get ourselves in and settled, and we want to see what capacity we've got, but certainly on weekends and evenings there are all those opportunities. We've already had a number of different people approaching us. We believe that even with the young veterans, we've had some discussions. We believe there are some similarities with the high rate of suicide and men's health issues, that there's a capacity of us to help there, and we're keen to work with the local federal member to do that. And so that'll be part of the future. But we'll be hoping to move in once we have done this opening and got the door open. We'll be doing that in the next 6 or 8 weeks. That'll be a huge move for mind and heart from the blokes that have sort of got used to the little shed up the top, coming down into a huge big shed, and with its very open plan, a different sort of opportunity. And we've already seen that happen with all of the workers coming down to help plant the grass, and wheelbarrows full of this, and building this and painting that and doing everything else. And all of a sudden we're the little pockets of groups of our 22 different activities in the shed. They've come down not as a member of the leatherwork group or a member of the woodwork group. They've come down as a shedder, and they've just all been as one and worked together. And in fact, I just noticed in the last few days when we've finished all of the hard work, no we haven't, we've prepared for this opening, but blokes have been happy just to come down, sit and have a cup of tea and enjoy it, and enjoy the new shed and enjoy the outlook. So that's all going to be extremely positive for the future. So I've got a little statement here that we've written, and I'll just go through this, just a matter of interest for you. The Buderim Men's Sheds give members an opportunity for renewal and transformation surrounded by supportive, creative activity. Think about it. The Buderim Men's Shed and sheds in general enable members to positively advance their health, well-being, social fabric and self-worth. Sheds have a positive flow on the effect with members' families' life because they are happier for the men to be being involved in the shed and therefore they're happier at home. Men's Sheds assist the wider community through projects where the resources and skills of its members have helped to achieve projects that would not have been possible otherwise. This shed will be an important hub of the community, inclusiveness, and will be increasingly used by other community groups. The Buderim Men's Shed has entered a new era. We are a thriving community hub for men of all ages. The Buderim Men's Shed membership are extremely proud of the achievement of this magnificent facility and look forward to the future. And so ends my lesson for the day. In closing, I'd like to just remember to pick up the papers. I just remembered at the opening, Ted came up as the member for Fairfax to hand us a cheque for $500,000, and at that we were so ecstatic at the shed to get this money. My gymnastics background, I managed to turn a cartwheel, and I said, if we ever get this bloody shed up, I'm doing it again.
And I won't. Now, I'll give you a 3 out of 10, Barry. You've been out of practice since you were in the Olympics, so never mind. Excellent. Our next speaker, if you could please welcome to the stand Ted O'Brien, the federal member for Fairfax. Thank you, Ted.
Craig, thank you, and good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to what is probably the Taj Mahal of men's sheds. This is unbelievable, it really is, and I can't tell you how happy I am to be here, knowing that we played our bit too as a federal government, and to be here with a close mate of mine in Scotty Buckholz and his wife Christine, who are joining us today. Scotty, of course, being the Honourable Scott Buckholz, who's the Assistant Minister for Roads and Transport. Why do we bother helping out, trying to get funding for men's sheds? People have suggested that I've been really keen to do so because in our family of 9 kids, of which I'm the youngest, there's 7 boys. And the culture of a men's shed isn't all that different from a whole bunch of blokes who are brothers. Probably too that I went to a boarding school, and seriously, the culture at men's sheds are very much like the boarding school culture. There's something though, I think far more important that's going on, and a lot of people don't recognise. We're putting our hands in the pockets of taxpayers to help men's sheds. And we do so for a far more important reason. It's not just so you can have a shed. Unfortunately, we have, I think, over the decades, seen a gradual decline in that old notion of civil society, where we have seen breakdown in families. We have seen a dilution of people's spirituality. We have seen an enormous distrust in public institutions, and we have seen some wonderful, long-standing community groups decline. And thus, we've seen a drop in that civil society that usually picks up the pieces. And when government or or businesses can't help. It's civil society there, those bonds, that social fabric that does the heavy lifting. If you think of that unfortunate trend, there's been one group, I believe, that has defied the odds more than anything, and it's the shed movement. It's men's sheds. Totally defied that. And it's because I believe that the model of men's sheds are truly unique. You don't put a shingle out the front saying, do you have a mental health problem? Come in here. You don't put a shingle out the front saying you're feeling lonely? Come in here. You don't put a shingle out the front that says, have you lost your wife? Come in here. Have you just retired and you don't know what to do? Come in here. But the way sheds operate is they provide all the support, all the love of a functioning, loving home. And the growth of men's sheds speaks for itself right across the country. It is unbelievable how quickly and how large men's sheds have grown, because it is addressing a whole bunch of real issues and not doing it in a way dictated by government. It's something that has grown from the grassroots. And the Australian men's shed design is being looked at globally and people are wanting to replicate it. And here we have in Buderim one of the largest men's sheds in the country. And it's for that reason. It's because of what sheds do in our broader society that governments say, you know what, we need to support them. Because ultimately governments can only do so much. It's community. It's communities. And what the Buderim Men's Shed has done has been extraordinary. What this shed represents, I believe, is a beacon of civil society. That's what it is. And the shed movement itself is a case study for the rebuilding of civil society that will rebuild with all the various challenges we have socially. It is going to be models like the men's shed model that is leading the way right now. And that is why we are so proud to be part of this shed and why we have not hesitated to put funding to it. It's also why, by the way, we have changed our tax system, as some of you might know. 3-4 years ago, inspired principally by Buderim Men's Shed, it became apparent to me how difficult it is for men's sheds to get what's called DGR status, deductible gift recipient status, where basically you can go to the market, you can raise money for your shed and it's tax deductible. Now, since the introduction of the ACNC, it's been so difficult for men's sheds to get DGR status, which makes it just harder. You can't apply to a whole bunch of philanthropic bodies because they only accept DGR applications. Now, after a lot of work, Buderim Men's Shed just kept trying. How many times did we talk about it? Did you go back in and we tried and we tried, we kept getting a no. Flat no, because it didn't fit the bureaucratic system. So there was only one choice available, and that came down to a choice of political will. And I give credit to my colleagues, including Scotty, who helped us with this, but in particular the Treasurer and the Finance Minister. And in the budget only earlier this month, a ruling was made that every men's shed across the country and every women's shed, which is now emerging, will have blanket DGR from the 1st of July next year. And again, we do that for that core reason. It's not because it's a shed. It's because I honestly believe there is no other design, no other model of community that is a better beacon for the rebuilding of civil society. Thank you very much and congratulations.
Thank you, Ted. Well, there's some meaty chunks to think about. Oh, what a burden. We've got to rebuild civil society. We're going to need a bigger shed. And Ted, I must point out that the Taj Mahal is a tomb. Can you please find another analogy, because that doesn't go down well here. That's all right. Can we now welcome to the stand Scott Buckholz, the Assistant Minister for Roads and Transport and a member for Wright. Scotty.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Before I start, please put your hand together for that cartwheel for Barry. Amazing. Well done. And not to be outdone, I'd ask my good colleague Ted O'Brien to do a triple somersault, please, mate. Up you come. This is a flash building. This is a very flash building. John, can I acknowledge firstly John, the President, where are you? Or, yeah, John, for President of Men's Sheds Queensland, where are you, brother? Up the back here? Absolutely, thank you for coming down, John. 190 different men's sheds around Queensland. Guess how many in the country all up? Just over 900, yeah. 1,073, bingo. 133. There's a lot. Anyway, there's a lot. We've got 170 of them here in Queensland. I was having a quick chat to John before we took the stage and asked him, have you seen a better building than this in the men's sheds in Queensland? He took no time to answer, and it was, this is unmatched. So congratulations on those designers, those that have raised the money, those who have been the steering committee behind this. It is an exceptional building. It is an exceptional building, and all of you involved need to be acknowledged for that. I want to just start off also by acknowledging Ted O'Brien. Now, a lot of you may not know that when we're in Canberra, every second Wednesday, all the Queenslanders get together, and so it might be the federal members, the senators, whether they're ministers, we all get together in a room. And for 8 years, it was supposed to be about driving projects forward for Queensland. This is Ted's first term, and I can put my hand on my heart and say, since Ted's been in that room, he has brought structure, he has brought a vision. Queensland now speaks with a far more salient one voice. We prioritise projects, and that has happened because of Ted's leadership in that space. I want you to keep an eye on Ted, because in years to come, I have no doubt that he will be knocking on the doors of Cabinet and will make an amazing contribution to our Parliament in the future. He was very humble. Ted O'Brien was very humble when he said that he got the DGR status. It wasn't discussed in the party room. It wasn't something. There wasn't a groundswell of members trawling through the corridors pushing this. Ted drove it because of this shed here. And I was in Sydney, and we have offices in each of the capital cities, and I was down there for a cabinet meeting, and I saw Ted trawling through the corridors with Josh Frydenberg, our treasurer. And I said, what are you doing down here, mate? I said, you're a little bit out of your way. He said, oh, just doing a few things. He was down here he was down in Sydney advocating for men's shed right across Australia, and as he rightly said, he was doing it because this men's shed was the one that highlighted it and brought it to his attention that you didn't have that status. So ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for the work that this bloke does in your community. Well done, brother. Love for you. Now, Barry, I don't know if when I took the stage I felt your hand slip into my pocket. You might be looking for some more money, but I mean the million that's on the table at the moment to invest here, we want some returns back. As a federal government, we want some returns. And I just want to speak to the men in the room at the moment. Men are 10 times more likely to be incarcerated. There are 10 times more men in jail than there are women. Men are 3 times more likely to commit suicide, and men are more likely to die of preventable cancers than women. So I raise those 3 points because there is a next generation of our youth coming through. This facility can be potentially a ground zero with the eclectic skill sets that I know each of you had. Barry introduced me and said that there were you had a number of PhD members, assortment of trades that are no task that could not be brought here and with the skill sets of the membership be solved. So I want to leave you with a task, and I want you to think about how you can influence the next generation coming through, because I want to see that incarceration rate come down. And I think there's a skill set that each of you have to be able to influence that at a local level. With reference to the men's health issue, no better advocates for men's health than your age. There is a sense of wisdom that comes with the amount of grey hair in this room. Absolutely. And to the ladies in the room, encourage your men to speak about it, because what that ties into the suicide. There's some science around the fact that men are more likely, 3 times more likely to suicide than men, because they just don't talk. Women are more likely to have a chat to another lady, to get stuff off the chest. Men just don't do it. Turn to grog and other things. So it's a serious issue, and I want each of the members here today to take away that is the return on investment that this Commonwealth would expect for you to make a contribution to this community. Barry, thank you for your leadership that you have given in this place. This is an incredible building. John and I come from a small place in Boona, just south of Ipswich, west of Bow Desert. I don't know if any of you know it. But this is bigger than our entire council's work department. I think our men's shed is a shipping container with a tarp off the side of it that opens once a month or something, and they knock out stock whips at the show. So it is quite an impressive building. The $1 million that the federal government kicks in, we do that because we believe in these regions. And the contrast I make in my area, we have a donga or shipping container, and Ted O'Brien has not the Taj Mahal, never to be spoken of again, is a direct result of his leadership and his passion for the region. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for the opportunity to be here. Enjoy this building.
Thank you, Scotty. And I think the message common to all 3 speakers there is, yes, money came through, your money, not federal government money. They're just handling it on the way past. But taxpayer money, the federal government was wise enough to allocate it sensibly to us as the shedders and do something useful with a future. Okay. And they haven't paid, well, they have, but they haven't just invested in 3 buildings. They've invested in the men that build the buildings, the men that inhabit the buildings, the men that will be productive. And I am in awe of what these shed members have done in the last 2 years. Absolutely amazing. From fundraising to completion. If they're that productive when they're retired, what the hell were their careers like? Unbelievable. It's time now for the opening ceremony. So if I could ask the official party to take up their official positions. Has somebody bring the saw? Where's the saw? Okay. Oh lordy. Here we go. No. Rod, turn that off. Whoa, you might be fitted out, but occupational health and safety says too much tool. Too much tool. All right, be off with you. And too much tool is not a problem we have in this shed much, but there you go. Have we got, it gets a bit overexcited when men get a project, what's the biggest tool I can find? Have we got a smaller, more appropriate saw? Yes. Yes? Oh good, thank you. All right, now who is the official sawyer? It's Ted. Okay, let's open this shed. Well done. And to complete the official ceremony, we now have the official unveiling of the plaque by Barry and Scotty. Yep. There we go. Now, that plaque will be mounted in my pool room at home for all of you to come and have a look at occasionally. All right, so.
We knew that. What an exciting day, Barry.
Yeah, look, we're just absolutely over the moon. We've been 7 years. We've come to this point there. We've got a brand new shed. It's probably, I mean, by numbers, we've been one of the biggest in Australia. And now we've got a shed to match that. And in fact, to look at the future, I think there's a lot ahead of us with the baby boom bubble still coming through. And we're going to have a capacity to engage those people and look after men's health.
Looks pretty good, doesn't it?
Well, it's fabulous there, and I mean, interesting design. We've got three sheds, as we call it, the shed. But 3 sheds. One looks after all the industrial areas, all the woodwork and metalwork and dust and whatever. In the middle, we've got a refectory area, which has got a large hall, which will serve us. We have a monthly meeting. We get about 80 to 100 blokes at that monthly meeting. We talk about health and a number of other things. And the third shed's a studio shed, and it'll have a gymnasium, probably our biggest, most popular group actually. And we've got leatherwork, cut glass or stained glass cutting, French polishing and a few other things, so plenty happening.
Barry, what are the numbers then? You must certainly be expecting them to grow now.
Yeah, look, at the moment I think we started at the beginning of the year with 0. We take on new memberships, so I think we're up to 260 or so now, and by the end of the year we'll peak over 300. But again, with the new shed here, it's going to be a whole new game, because we've come from one area into a new area, so there'll be some may not follow us down. I don't know. We'll maybe pick up others. So we'll see how we go. We've got the capacity now, and we can have an open plan, safe environment, and it's going to be a joy to work in.
For you personally, how rewarding is it to see all this finally come together after so long?
Look, I mean, I was an athlete. I competed in Olympic Games. I became a national coach for 10 years, and I've been used to working with teams. I worked at the university, and all these attributes sort of fell together in a natural zone at a shed here, because you've got a bunch of nice, enthusiastic guys. You've just got facilities, and it's just so easy to pull these guys together and work together. I'm almost embarrassed that my name's on a plaque there, but I think it's been the shed, not me, and all the blokes have pulled together to make this happen.
How long have you been involved in, and I guess what does it mean to you? What does the men's shed mean to you?
Yeah, the men's shed means a lot. I retired, moved up to Sunshine Close, nowhere else in the world to retire to. And all of a sudden, you know, I've been a home handyman all my life, and you know, this needed fixed, that needed fixed. I had nowhere to go, so I was in a unit. So I thought, oh, I'll sleep up to this men's shed, and for me personally, that's just been a wealth of information there. I mean, if you've got an electrical problem, or you've got something with your car, or the kids ring up and say, I need a cupboard, you can go to the blokes in the shed, and you tell them what they want, and they can help you do it. So all of a sudden it becomes a team effort. So it's just a wonderful thing. And the benefit of blokes just sitting around and talking and solving problems during the course of the smokos and lunchtimes, I think, call that the brains of the department there, because the blokes will sit around and talk, and that's where all the good work's done.
Barry, you mentioned location. You've moved down from on top of Buderim to underneath Buderim. You now call yourself under Buderim or on Buderim?
We'll call ourselves the Buderim Men's Shed, and we're open for business for any man who wants to come and join us.
So delighted to be here at the Buderim Men's Shed today, and what a shed. It is extraordinary, and delighted too, of course, to have the Assistant Minister for Roads and Transport, the Honourable Scott Buckholtz, here today too. They've done it. The men have done it. This is entirely their creation, and the federal government has kicked in $1 million, but that's not for walls and a roof. That is for the good work that the men's shed movement does right across Australia. And here we have one of the largest men's shed, which is indeed leading the way. We cannot underestimate the impact and the positive benefit that men's sheds deliver. You know, this is not just about the men themselves who use this shed, but it's the good work they do across the community. It isn't just about banging nails into wood. This is about gifting to the community. It's about ensuring those who are vulnerable are receiving assistance. And it's about ensuring that men have mates, men can speak about serious personal issues, and that's why it's worth supporting. So it's a terrific day, and the men's shed have yet again done it.
Over 1,000 men's shed nationally, over 170 across the state. Men's sheds are everywhere, and I have not seen a men's shed that comes close to what we've just opened today. Thanks to Ted O'Brien, $1 million from the federal government, making a contribution to this community, and 300 volunteers, 300 shedders. So if you're sitting at home and wondering how you can get involved with Men's Shed, come down, see these guys, get involved, because it's not just a mob of grey-haired men sitting around. They're dealing with men's health, they're dealing with mental health, they're dealing with suicide prevention, and they're dealing with how they can solve the problems of the next generation. To the Men's Shed here at Buderim, I congratulate you and look forward to more projects from you in the future, of which I'm sure there will be. Thank you. No questions?
Just briefly, the Men's Shed, what are you doing about equality? Does the CWA feel as though they're threatened?
No, they do have. There are certain things that we want to just keep for the boys, and the Men's Shed is one of them. We have Women's Shed. We had one over in Helidon, the foot of the Toowoomba Range, not too long ago, where we gave them some money. So there are organisations, the CWA, of course, but this one is the men. And you know what? I think the women at home get a kick out of the Men's Shed because it gets the men out from underneath their feet, out of the house for a couple of hours a day. I think the Men's Shed has a great purpose in the community.
And Scott, I can say, if I can interrupt, that at the national conference a couple of years ago of the Australian Men's Shed Association, they had the head of the CWA speaking to the men, and she said, we're an organisation of women. If any men want to join us, they can bugger off.
We shouldn't forget too, the one of the largest growing sheds on the Sunshine Coast, one of the largest growing sheds on the Sunshine Coast is the Coolum Women's Shed. And so the shed movement is growing, and there are men's sheds and there are also women's sheds. And again, locally here on the sunny coast, one of the largest growing women's shed in the country is here locally, and that's the Coolum Women's Shed. So full force to them.
What are you doing here? What we're doing, we're serving a normal Buderim Men's Shed barbecue. What we have once a month is pretty much the same as what we've got today. So it's unfortunately we've just got a few more people than we would normally have. That's all. So they've got mushroom, bacon, sausages, onion, and salad.
Hey Ray, tell me what you're serving up today.
We're serving up these beautiful onions from, where did we get the onions from? Vienna? The sausages come from...
all local.
Oh, all local, sorry, they're all local food. And we have some beautiful food here today.
And you're doing something special for the opening? What's so special about today?
Special today we have got to the opening, because it's been a long haul. And particularly for some people it's been a lot longer than mine, but it has been a long haul. And so we've got to, I'm just happy it's open. It's open now, and we finished with council problems, and we can occupy it now.
What's so special about the Men's Shed to you?
My husband's not at home every day.
That's a fair enough reason. What about you, ma'am?
Nothing. I like supporting it and supporting Lil.
What's so special about today for you, sir?
Well, because of the all the companionship of all my mates, and looking forward to getting all those machines in there to get into them and make things,
What are girls doing at the Men's Shed?
We're the drivers.
We were allowed to cross over the doorstep this time if we bought scones.
Did you? I didn't.
That was one of the things that we were told. No, it's been very good. The men have been buzzing around like little bees here. And when you look at the work they've achieved, you wonder why they can't do a bit more around the house.
I see you from Mumbai.
Yes, that's right.
Just up the road. What do you like about the Buderim Men's Shed versus the Mumbai?
I'd kill for that shed in there. We have two sheds that would fit inside those two and then some.
So we can mow it.
They're absolutely huge.
Good. You look as though you've been nurturing that moustache for quite some time.
Yes, I have.
Does that make you a real man for the Men's Shed?
I don't think I need a moustache for that, no.
So what's so special about today for you?
Today, I can see the fruit of my labours, and of course seeing all my fellow members here.
What can a woman tell me about the Men's Shed?
My husband was on the original group that started it,
Rotary?
I think it's from Rotary, and I think it's just a wonderful thing for fellows to do. And I did hear someone say once, it's great because all the women say, why don't you go to the men's shed? That gets rid of them.
Are you here for the food or are you here for the men's shed?
I'm here for the men's shed. It's a wonderful group, very inclusive, really does help us get involved in the community. Thank you.
Ma'am, what can you tell me about the men's shed?
I don't know, he disappears for the day.
Looking for guys with good moustaches.
Oh, right.
What are you doing here?
Well, we're opening our new shed today. That's what we're doing, and it's a big day. A big day. There's been a lot of effort put in by everybody, and I'm responsible for the sign out the front of the building. So get a photograph of my sign.